مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد. Inshallah, today I'm going to narrate a small story, one of my most favorite stories mentioned in the Quran. And that is the time when Musa alayhi salam got to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala face to face. So inshallah we'll start. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وهل أتاك حديث موسى إذ رأى نارا فقال لأهلهم كثوا إني آنست نارا لعلي آتيكم منها بقبس أو أجد على النار هدى. The way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts this, وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ, has it reached you? Hadith Musa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say qissa, He says hadith. And it also means by meaning something new. So whenever we read Quran, we have to think about it as if this is a completely new, fresh experience. I mean, I bet all of you have gone through the story of Musa a million times in Sunday school. But bear with me, and let's try and look at it through a different perspective. فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِ, when he said to his family, أُمْكُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا, stay here, indeed I, inni, there's emphasis there, inni, certainly myself, anastu nara, that I see a fire. And the reason he says that is that nobody else in his family could see it. And anastu nara, la'alli, hopefully, atikum minha biqabas, that I will hopefully bring from it a spark. Aw ajidu ala nari huda, or maybe I'll find some guidance there. And so Musa alayhi salam is in the middle of nowhere. It's completely dark. Try and imagine with me. Put yourself in that scene. It's completely dark. There are no highways there. There's no signs, whatever. Pitch black. And you see a fire in the distance. Nobody else sees that fire. And you're like to your family, okay, stay here. I'll be back in a minute. Let me get some directions. أَوْ أَجِدُ عَلَى النَّارِ هُدَى. We will see what type of, he went there for directions. But subhanAllah, he got something a lot more. He got directions first of all to Pharaoh's palace. One of the most dangerous places for Musa to be. And also he got to became a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَمَّا أَتَاهَا نُودِيَ يَا مُوسَى. فَلَمَّا. So that means after a long distance. And this is the way of the Quran. Quran doesn't give you unnecessary details. It expects you to be smart enough to fill in the gaps. So falamma, meaning there was a big pause. Like it took him a while to climb up the mountain, whatever. And just imagine, pitch black, a fire on top of a mountain. And he comes in and all of a sudden, Ya Musa. Somebody yells out your name like that. You don't even know. You're like, whoa, what happened? How does anybody know? And then, just imagine, you're in shock. Somebody just yells your name out like that. Right after that, Allah says, إِنَّنِي أَنَا رَبُّكَ فَاخْلَعْنَا عَلَيْكَ. Certainly, I am certainly your Rabb. To this is to console Prophet Musa. It's not FBI calling your name. It's your Rabb. Just imagine, your Rabb calling your name. And right after that, just after, because Rabb means master. What does that make you? Slave. And what's the point of a slave? To obey. Right after telling you that, he says, take your shoes off. What do you learn? Even if you don't understand, he just came on top of a mountain, he doesn't know what's going on. And all of a sudden, take your shoes off. That's just obedience. You have to, it's full, complete obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's where do you learn? إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. You're in the sacred valley of Tuwa. And you're like, Musa a.s. might be thinking to himself, okay, what is this sacred? I don't think I belong here. He's probably thinking, I don't belong here. Let's leave. Let me leave. And Allah corrects that and says, وَأَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. That it is me, certainly I selected you. That you didn't come here by your own accord. It is I who selected you. Just imagine. And then فَاسْتَمِعْ. Listen carefully to what is being revealed. And now, one of the most beautiful ayahs. إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدْنِي وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. SubhanAllah. We see here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is introducing himself in first person. That is certainly, and I'm just going to translate it or whatever, right? That is me, Allah. It's certainly, and so much emphasis here. I mean, that is, and after that is me, certainly, your Allah. And there's no worthy, no deity, no entity that is worthy of your love, your worship, your compassion, except Allah. And accept Allah. So worship me and maintain salah as remembrance. And I will end with this. Imagine you got a chance to meet a very famous person. Let's say you shook hands with Kobe Bryant. Will you ever forget that? What will you do? Every time you meet friends, you say, you know, I haven't done too many things in my life, but you know, I shook hands with Kobe Bryant once. You will never forget that. And Musa a.s., he got a chance to meet Allah, talk to him directly. Do you think he will ever forget that? But still Allah says, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. That establish salah as remembrance. That is the true essence of prayer, that even that amazing influence, that amazing incident is not enough. Rather, salah is the way to remember our Master. To remain God conscious, and that way. That is why, inshallah, that is what I will end with you guys, with this. That always, in order to be successful, really the way is وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. Always try and be mindful of your prayers, and try and organize your day around your salah, not the other way around. جزاك خير وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Takbir. Allahu Akbar.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, excuse my voice. I'm feeling a little under the weather, but inshallah we'll be okay. So I think this program is coming to an end soon. Subhanallah. I mean, it feels like we, started it the other day, and it's gone by so fast. But me and Ameer were talking the other day, and we were talking about the program, and I just want to talk about how, I mean, the program wasn't really made only for social, gatherings. We didn't make the program only to, come together and just hang out. I mean, even though that was one of the benefits, we were hoping, obviously, that people were going to benefit from it. And we were hoping that, it was going to motivate people and influence people and, hopefully, change people. And subhanallah, I think a couple weeks ago I gave a story about, one of my friends, or like an old friend of mine who, that's too loud, okay. A friend of mine who called me and heard about the program and who was really interested in it. And he was one of my close friends who was influenced by, the idea of this program and what this program was all about, the future of Islam and the youth being the future and whatnot. And, I was really happy to hear that, he was interested, because I don't know about you, but like, more than hearing, information and knowledge from someone, or like just hearing someone speak who's like kind of always been around the religion, and someone who's always been religious and Islamic, and even though, that's a great benefit, I feel like I enjoy hearing from people who've started off off the path of Islam and kind of reverted to the path. I'm a lot more interested in hearing what they have to say, because I'm a lot more curious about why they changed and like what changed them, and things like that. So I always like hearing about people who changed. And subhanAllah, like a couple weeks ago, one of my friends called me about being interested, and 2 days ago another one of my friends did the same thing. And this guy, I don't know, I haven't seen him in, I'd say, about a year and a half. He's in college out of town, out of Milwaukee, and I haven't heard from him in a while, I'd say about a year. But 2 days ago, he randomly called me. I don't even know how he got my number. I changed it like twice. But he calls me, and or he texts me first, and he's like, Mahmoud, I gotta talk to you. And I didn't respond for a few hours. I was like, it's probably something stupid. I just took a nap. But he ended up calling me then, and I answered, and I'm like, what's going on? And we get to talking, and he's like, I seen the video you had up, I seen the trailer you had up, and I visited the ISM youth page, and I seen the program that's going on at the ISM, and I see what you guys are doing. And we talked, and he's like, man, I'm interested. I like what you're doing. I like what's going on. And he's like, I want in, pretty much. And it just put a smile on my face. Like, I was really shocked. Like, I haven't talked to this kid in so long, and like, he hasn't been around, but like out of nowhere, he saw what we were doing here, and he loved it, and he wanted in. So I don't know, I really liked hearing that from him, and I thought like people who would hear this story would be really interested in it. And it's really motivating to hear that, like, people who are so far off and like really not really thinking about their life and their future and the future of Islam, subhanAllah, could be so motivated and like kind of veered into the right direction based off of a program like this. So alhamdulillah, we've been really influencing people and motivating people, and this hasn't been for no reason. Like, everyone's efforts and everyone's participation, have been going to good causes. And if anyone has stories like this, I feel like you should definitely like let Ameer know, or one of us know, because I always like hearing them. They always make me happy about what we're doing and make me feel like, we're making a difference, subhanAllah, and moving in the right direction. So yeah, that's all. Jazakallah khair.
Where are you going, Habibi?
Huh?
Where do you think you are? Man, this is not a synagogue, man. This is a masjid. What's your name?
My name is Jacob.
Jacob?
Yeah.
Man, you should say it like Muhammad or Abdullah, like a Muslim name. You don't have to say Jacob like a Jewish name. You're Jewish, huh?
I'm Muslim.
You're a Muslim? Why are you dressed up like a kafir?
Huh? This is jeans,
Look,
white jeans.
these are kafir jeans, man. See? Halal jeans, halal. Halal jeans. Halal. شو لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله, man. You have to be a strong man to say these words. You have to. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you're talking to?
Who are you?
You don't know me? Welcome the Haram police. My name is Abbas Muhammad Khalil Mustafa Abdul Karim Abu-Bakr.
Huh?
Safa, come see. Look at this fool there.
You're wearing a yarmulke, bro.
You're wearing a yarmulke in the masjid too.
Why are you here? You're in the wrong place, bro.
I came here for the halakha.
For the halakha, that's what all of them say. You work with the FBI code Phoebe.
FBI Muslim.
You know Muslim? Let me see one.
FBI.
Where's the FBI badge? You have in here somewhere. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. A girl with no mandil, picture with her.
That's my sister.
That's your sister? Prove it. Say Haram police.
Dude, just call the Haram police, bro.
Let me call Haram police on you. Haram police, wait. Stay, hold on. Hello, Haram police. Code Phoebe.
Haram police.
What you gonna do now, huh? Say I'm proving it.
I can prove I'm a Muslim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah.
Hold him. Take him away. Man, you're like the guy who came 1 month ago. What's his name?
John.
Ya munafiq, get out of the masjid, ya. Go back to Jahannam till eternity. Astaghfirullah al-Azim.
Man, I'm dying about that. That was really funny. They actually took over for it from me because I was practicing on my own stuff. So I mean, that blew my mind. That was really funny. MashaAllah. So again, you notice that in these skits, there's one recurring element that you see in all of them. Hold on a second. You see there's one recurring element in all of them. And that is that it highlights one big issue that our ummah faces, and that is the issue of arrogance, of pride and of ego that the Muslims have over not only other Muslims, not only other non-Muslims, but over humans in general. That people think that because they're a Muslim, that because they're on the right path, then that automatically means that they're better than other people. And I mean, this isn't the case, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created us to worship Him, and by worshiping Him, we're supposed to increase us in our humility. You know, I learned a very interesting thing a while back, and it really, really touched my heart. And that is that when Musa alayhi salam, he was one of the prophets, he was one of the Rasuls, and he was raised so high, to such a high status, to the point that as Brother Jibran was just telling us, he got to speak personally, directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He says that He increases him to this level only to increase him in his humility. So subhanAllah, I mean, when we come to the masjid to learn, we're supposed to increase ourselves in our own humility. And the specific issue that was in this skit was that this brother Abbas was judging Brother Kamara, who played Jacob, on the premise that he didn't look like a Muslim. This is a huge issue because you have so many reverts to Islam, who get pushed out of the deen. Why? Because of the actions of a few Muslims who think that what they're doing is right. I want to share with you a story that I heard, and this really, really saddened me. I don't really know if it happened over here or where it happened, but it definitely stuck in my head. So it was a story about a sister who became a Muslim, and she came from a Christian family. And this sister, she came from a Christian family, so you can already tell, it was an American family, and you know that Americans don't exactly see eye to eye with the Muslims. So she came from a family who didn't support her decisions. She had to leave her family, had to leave her friends, she had to leave her entire community, she had to leave every single thing that she loved, and she joined this community of Muslims because she was told that they would love her for the sake of Allah. So you have the sister who just became a Muslim, and she just started trying to wear hijab. And it's so backwards for these people because they can't even understand the concept of the hijab. So the sister, she starts wearing a hijab, and she goes to her first Jummah. And this is a pretty big masjid, I heard. So there are maybe about 100, 200 sisters over there. Now look, you can see how backwards the Muslims treated her. What they did, instead of opening their arms to her, what did these sisters do? They completely ignored her, and some of them even judged her. They said, "Sister, you're not wearing this hijab correctly. It's not covering your hair perfectly. Why are you even here? Why are you wearing this hijab? You're mocking the deen." Can you imagine? Put yourself in those shoes. And I'm using an example of a sister because it happens to the sisters more than it happens to the brothers. It happens to them more, that they're judged based on what they're dressing, even though they're trying, their intentions are in the right place, they're judged based on what they look like. Just try to put yourself in those shoes, where you just left behind everything you've ever known for this deen, only to realize that no one is actually being sincere with you. No one is being sincere. So the story goes on that this sister, she was so upset that she was sitting outside of the masjid after her Jummah, and she was crying. She was crying. Everyone else had already left. No one said anything to her. No one wanted to talk to her. They said that this sister is weird. She's not wearing hijab correctly. She's dressed like, I don't even know. She doesn't look like a Muslim, therefore she's not a true Muslim. And everyone was just driving by, just ignoring her. So then the masjid was slowly getting emptier and emptier and emptier, until eventually there was one person left, and this was actually the Imam of that masjid. He saw the sister crying. He was the last person to leave the masjid. He saw the sister sitting by the masjid's door, and she was crying. So he asked her, "What's wrong? What happened?" So the sister told him about the story, that none of these sisters, none of these Muslims were treating her correctly, and she just became a Muslim. And this Imam, he consoled her in a way that brought her closer to the deen, and made her realize that it's not that while Islam is the true religion, it is the actions of a few people that are messed up that don't exactly represent the deen. And you see this all the time, especially nowadays. That it's because of a few people who mess up that completely misrepresent the deen. So I mean, if this Imam didn't come along and he didn't console this sister, who knows where she would have been? What if she went back to the ways of the kafir? How would you feel if you were the reason that another Muslim, that your judgmental behavior, your pride and your arrogance was the reason that another Muslim left the deen? I want to leave you guys with this thought, that what if it's because of you? What if it's because of me? What if it's because of the people in this masjid who have been a Muslim their whole life, who wear a thobe, who wear a kurta, who wear kufis, who wear a hijab, and I forget, what's the sister's thing called? I forgot what it's called. Anyway, but how would you feel? A what? Abaya, that's right. Yeah, if you've been a Muslim your whole life and you start judging someone to the point that they leave the deen. I want to leave you guys with this message. Inshallah, we can all, I make dua that we all strive to get rid of this arrogance from our heart and increase ourselves in our humility. Without further ado, actually, there is one thing that I forgot to mention. Now, as you all know that on the ISM Youth fan page, it's on Facebook, we're adding questions and stuff all over the place. And I just want to recognize two youth that answered the question correctly. And the question was about last week's Qiyam, where the question was, what is the name of the term that refers to getting yourself out of the obsession with dunya? And it was, who was the brother who answered it correctly? Yeah, can you come up? And he answered the question was zuhud. And that is the concept that to detach yourself from the dunya, detach yourself from the obsession of the dunya. Then I asked another follow-up question, that what is this thing called in English? What is the concept called in English? And that question was answered correctly by a sister. Sister Ala Ismail is your older sister? Older sister, mashallah. So it's like, it runs in the family. So they both get prizes today, inshallah. I'll give it to them, I'll give it up to the sisters, if someone can grab it after I'm done, inshallah, and then I'll give you one as well. Without further ado, I want to call Hafiz Ameer Hamza up, and he's going to give us an account on the life of Imam bin Hanbal. So without further ado, let's give him our undivided attention, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. الحمد لله الذي لا نحصي ثناء عليك وهو كما أثنى على نفسك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى تريدون عرض الدنيا والله يريد الآخرة وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا ما لكم إذا قيل لكم انفروا في سبيل الله اثاقلتم إلى الأرض أرضيتم بالحياة الدنيا من الآخرة فما متاع الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا قليل وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الدنيا سجن المسلم سجن المؤمن وجنة الكافر فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear brothers and sisters, my dear youth, my dear uncles, super uncles, my father is also in the audience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight, I have a personality to share with you that is my favorite, one of my favorite I should say. And this man, known as Imam Ahmed ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah. Such is the status of this man, that it is said that were it not had been for two people, Allah would have not been worshipped on earth. Because of the sacrifices they made, stances that they took, that these two men, because of their contribution, had it not been for them, Allah would not have been worshipped on earth. First was Abu-Bakr radiallahu anhu, and the stance he took after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. And the second was Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, of that stance and the sacrifice he made when the fitna that occurred in his lifetime, which we will learn about. But before I jump into his life, I want to establish a theme that you will see occurring over and over again. And I want to make sure everybody pays attention, because this theme, if you understand this, you're going to get so much more out of the life of Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. And that is that, my dear youth and my dear audience, if you look at anything in life, and I mean anything that's created,
you'll see that Allah has created that on a curve. What do I mean by that? That creation has a beginning point, then a peak, and then zawal. And then it either dies off, eradicates itself, or disappears. So you look at the moon, for example, and you notice moon goes through stages, where slowly the crescent comes out. And then on the 14th night, it's fully beautiful moon, and then even that beautiful moon slowly faces the stages of disappearance, and then it goes away. Or you might be enjoying a beautiful starry night, but then few rays of sunlight take that away. You look at a fruit, and there's a time when the fruit is ripe and mature and good to eat. But if you leave it outside, it becomes rotten and goes away. You look at milk, for example. There's a certain date by which you have to sell it and drink it, otherwise it's rotten away. You look at the human beings, women, men. At the beginning of your, subhanAllah, in the middle of your life, you have all this energy, and you want to look the best, and you are just full of life. But as the wheel of time starts to spin, slowly those lotions don't hide those wrinkles anymore. And slowly that henna doesn't hide your white hair anymore, you know? The test of time shows that even human beings slowly decline. And I'm telling you this because Allah has created this world, this dunya. And you're going to hear this word over and over again, dunya. He's created in this such manner that everything goes up and then eventually comes down. And the message is that those of us who have given everything to this declining, destroying world, and disappearing world, and deteriorating world, for those of us who have tied all our dreams and aspirations and visions just to this life, know that it will come to an end, and so will all your investment and dreams that you have tied with this world. Let me give you an example. I was at a fundraiser 2 Saturdays ago, just to tell you people whose dreams, visions are just tied to this world. See the kind of behavior that comes about. We were at a fundraiser two Saturdays ago, and in the fundraiser, there were people with 13,000 square feet house, indoor swimming pool, inside indoor tennis court, and you name it. And the fundraiser began, and subhanAllah, people with part-time jobs even donated for the sake of Allah, because they were trying to create this building. And they gave to the best of their abilities. For $1,800, you could sponsor like a slot in a row, and the construction was happening, and you could support this cause. Can you imagine? You'll come on the Day of Judgment, and this masjid, as long as it lived, and the benefit it provided the people, you get ajr. So people with part-time jobs, little money, were able to donate. But these same people with 13,000 square feet house, wallahi, were not able to muster up $500. And the speaker who's doing the fundraiser is telling us this after the fundraiser. Why? Every dream and investment is tied to this world. They couldn't care less about the standing in the hereafter. They couldn't care less about the seeds and reaping the reward in the hereafter. They want to maximize their pleasure here. And that's why a great scholar was once asked by a king or a governor, why is it that I hate to go into the hereafter? Why is it? And look at what the scholar said, subhanAllah. He said, you hate to go into the hereafter because you hate to go from that which you have built to that which you have abandoned. Why would you want to face Allah when you have not invested anything into the next life? This is a concept you have to understand, my dear youth. Because our youth, this concept of dunya influences everything you do. A youth goes into middle school or high school. There's a group of kids, there's a group of teenagers that he thinks are cool and he wants to hang out with them. However, to be part of this cool circle and clique, you gotta bring down your pants to your knees, and you gotta dress your hair in a certain way. And if that means cussing, they will do it. See, this is dunya. I'm just trying to put the concept in perspective. Love of this dunya, fame, status, trying to be cool, it all falls under dunya. So if that means cussing, we'll do it. If that means talking back to our parents, we'll do it. If that means turning our back to the masjid, we'll do it. If that means posting disgusting things on Twitters and Facebook, we'll do it. If that means, wallahi, if that means turning back on our deen and the values that we were brought up with and the heritage of this religion, we will do it. Because love of dunya is so much all over our hearts. And it's so bad with some of our youth. Alhamdulillah, we have amazing youth in this community. And I don't want to tell you that we have amazing youth. When we had Qiyam, subhanAllah, I saw some amazing signs. But then we also saw the other side. Of youth, you could talk about hellfire here, and you could be describing the nature of the fire of hell, and some youth will still be chit-chatting and, and lost in their own little dunya. So we must understand, my dear brothers, that this world, and we must understand if this is all we're about, this will die away and it's going to take you with it in a bankrupt fashion. And wallahi, this world is such a fraud and such a deception. So you know a name by the name of Elvis Presley. Of course we all know who that is. Elvis Presley, the god of rock. I believe if there was ever a figure that was worshipped, a celebrity that was worshipped, it was him. People dressed like him, called him king. And this man was up there. And you know what? The hundreds and thousands of fans he has, you know what they think when they look at Mr. Presley on the stage, rocking the house? They think, man, can anyone have a better life than him? Because you ask about money, he has more money than he knows what to do with. You ask about fame, he has more fame than the President of the United States. You ask about popularity, I don't have to go there. He has everything that a man or a young man can imagine, or a young woman can imagine this life can offer at his fingertips. But you know the life, you see, look at the deception of this world. You think this is all cool. This is what I want to be like. This is my dream. This is my American dream. But you know the life that he was leading? The people who knew Elvis Presley one-on-one would say that this man was barely surviving by overdosing on Prozac and drugs that reduce your depression. Because despite what all this world had to offer him, he could not find happiness. Could not find happiness. This dunya cannot give you what you desire. Why? Because you are from Jannah, and your father is from Jannah. And you think this world will satisfy your desires? No, only Allah. And look at what Allah says, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُمْ مِنْ قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ. There's so much love and rahmah in this ayah. Allah says, oh my servants, you have no idea of the things that I have hidden away for you in Jannah to please your eyes. Don't gamble away eternity for few petty pleasures of this world. Elvis Presley died, overdosed on drugs. And here's a man, a symbol that everyone looks up to. In Pakistan there's a famous cricketer by the name of Saeed Anwar. He actually came to ISM. And a famous singer, Junaid Jamshed. Saeed Anwar says that when I grew up, he says before I grew up, as I was growing up, he said my parents had me convinced that to be successful in this life, you gotta get money. You gotta make sure you got money all the way under your mattresses. You gotta make sure your bank account is stacked. He's like, I was convinced. He's like, so that became the purpose of my life. Fame, status, money. He's like, I was lucky that Allah blessed me at the age of 22 to become a famous cricket star, and all this was at my fingertip. All of this. And he said, by 22, people were dying to get my autograph, and I had all that I ever needed. He said, for some reason, I was still depressed. It's like there was this emptiness inside of me that could never go away. He said, did I make a mistake in choosing the purpose of my life? Was this all a mistake? Is this all a mirage that I was chasing to no end and no avail? There was a brother with a taxi driver who was telling me that he had a customer. And this customer was somebody in old age. They throw him in senior house, except that he had his apartment. And this person, the person who would drive the taxi, would drive him personally around. And this person had no family left. Family had left him. You see, this is how the American culture is, the individualistic society. There's a lot of benefit in this culture, but this is an aspect of culture that we have to watch out for. So, family has left him, kids have left him, wife has left him, living alone in his apartment. But the brother who's driving him around treats him very well. So he calls him up every other day. Hey, can you come and take me there? And he would give him a lot of hefty tip. But he's living by himself, has no life. And you know what happens? For a week or two, it happens that he gets no phone call from this person, this customer. And the taxi driver, the brother, is shocked. And he's like, what happened? And he's shocked, no answer for 2 weeks, to a point that he was forced and compelled to go to his apartment. Knocked on his apartment, no one there. Then the landlord tells him that this man, Mr. Paul, passed away last week, and his body was rotting in his apartment for 3 days. No family, no one to take care of him. See, this is his dunya. Because if you looked at his life 30 years ago, when he was on the, when he was at the peak of his manhood, you know what he would have been doing? Partying it away, drinking it away, chasing this dunya and all the pleasure it has to offer. 60 years, and this curve comes to a decline. He has nothing left. خَسِرَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Loses this world and the next. We must understand this, my dear youth. Because if all our dreams and all our interests are just here, understand that this will be eventually swept away, and you don't make a stand and make an investment into your future, wallahi, you will regret on that day. So a man that we will discuss tonight is a man who understood this very well. He led a life, and you will see throughout his life, dunya coming him, glittering in his eyes, and he kicked it away every time. Watch this man, wallahi, what a beautiful life, and how Allah tested him and chose him for a mission, that he became a man that has been said about him that Allah would not have been worshipped had it not been for him. Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal was born in a very poor family. No dunya from an early age. And ever since he was young, you see his mother from an early age wanted him to be a scholar. And she used to say, and Imam Ahmed used to tell, that his mom would wake him up early in the morning before Fajr. Warm up the water for him, because you just can't turn on the shower and warm water comes out. Boil water for him, and make sure that he will be able to take a shower in the morning. And when he's done taking a shower, take a shawl around him, and in the dark streets of Baghdad, she would be taking him so he can get a front row seat in the halaqah of the sheikh. These are the mothers who make that sacrifice. You see, we have a famous speaker in Pakistan. He says that when I was young, before my eyes were open, he's so young, he says, before I could gain consciousness, he said, I would hear my parents telling me, you gotta become a doctor, man. He's like, every single cell in my brain was convinced I gotta become a doctor. He's like, I heard this so many times. You gotta become an engineer, you gotta become a doctor. I heard this so many times. He said, by the age of 10, I became convinced that the very purpose of my life is to become a doctor. These are our values, but that was the values of the mother of Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. At an early age, got him into knowledge. And this great man, Imam Ahmed, from an early age, he had a taqwa that people could see. See, Imam Ahmed was one of the people who could read and write. So people would register his services to write letters. And at an early age, for example, when Muslim men were out fighting, fi sabilillah, their wives would need services to write these letters. So Imam Ahmed would be called to write letters on their behalf. And then even at an early age, he would only write things that were appropriate and not against the deen, or not according, like they're not complaining against Allah or something outrageous. He would only write that. Anything else, and he would stop writing right there. He's like, I don't need your money. You know how poor Imam Ahmed was? They used to say Imam Ahmed was so poor and his family was so poor that first of all his mom would sew clothes, barely enough money for both of them to survive. But on top of that, Imam Ahmed was so poor and sometimes would go hungry for so many days that he would go to places where camels would come from the outside carrying loads of grains. And you know how loads of grains loaded on top of camels, they would have a station where they would all unload. So few seeds of grain would drop to the ground. After the camels had left, there comes the great scholar of our religion, young man. You know what is he doing? Picking one seed at a time. One seed at a time. Picking them up, rolling them together, and then taking them to the house. And here we complain over food that we have a choice to select from the menu of McDonald's. We still complain. You know, in Pakistan, we had neighbors, and once a month, they would cook they would cook meat in the house once a month, chicken, as a very luxury item. And then once a month, when chicken would be cooked, you could hear them talking, dude, did you know what I ate for dinner today? Bro, I had chicken leg, man. And here you go to a dawat in here, a party, and you look in the garbage can and you have millions of drumsticks with half meat on them. Who's supposed to answer to Allah? Wallahi, we have to be careful about wasting food. It's not my topic today, but it comes and it's a reflection from the life of Imam Ahmed. He had to pick seeds. And people in Pakistan rarely eat food, and so is the case with many Muslim countries in the world. You have it at your disposal. Wallahi, appreciate it. Wallahi, appreciate it. So Imam Ahmed studied, grew up in this taqwa. And from an early age, scholars were able to see that this is a man who's special. So a great scholar once said, "Sayakunu," if this man lives for a long time, "Sayakunu hujjatan ala ahli zaman." That he will become a hujjah. Who knows? I don't know if you know the meaning of the word hujjah, but I'll tell you. I want you to keep in mind because it's going to come again. Hujjah is someone who is an evidence against people. Meaning his words are so final that it becomes evidence. Like the legal verdict that our judge gives, that legal verdict, now applied like the Supreme Court of the United States, once they issue a ruling, it becomes what? A hujjah. It becomes a final word. This man, he said, will become so great if he lives, that he will become what? A hujjah against his people. So Imam Ahmed grew, studied at the hands of some of the great scholars. Altogether, he had about 414 teachers. And he would travel far and wide on foot because he was poor and he couldn't afford a camel. Travel on foot seeking knowledge. Travel on foot seeking knowledge from great scholars like Sufyan ibn Uyayna, from great scholars like Yazid ibn Harun. And Imam Ahmed from an early age had such respect, even amongst his teachers, that one of his teachers, Yazid ibn Harun, used to joke a lot. Joke a lot. But when Imam Ahmed would be in the gathering, and Imam Ahmed had a serious personality. He wasn't into joking and always crackling. So Imam Ahmed had a serious personality. Yazid ibn Harun, who loves joking with his students, moment he knows Imam Ahmed is in the gathering, he would stop joking. And one of the gatherings, he didn't know Imam Ahmed is in the gathering. So he starts with his jokes and trying to crack people up. And Imam Ahmed is in the gathering and he's like, "I'm here, Sheikh." And the Sheikh is like, "Why didn't you tell me, guys, Imam Ahmed is in the gathering so I could stop with this?" This is the level of haiba he commanded with his teachers. And they respected him so much and they loved him so much. Imam Ahmed learned from great scholars, and his favorite teacher was Imam Shafi'i. I think he was his favorite teacher. And he had so much respect for his teacher that he would not teach because at least as long as his teachers were alive. In fact, he did not start teaching till the age of 40 because he said that the Prophet ﷺ began preaching at the age of 40. That's when I'm going to start preaching. And people couldn't wait to study with Imam Ahmed. In fact, there's this narration that a man from Andalusia, now where's Andalusia? In Spain. Months away. This man travels on foot because he's also very poor and he has heard about Imam Ahmed, travels far and wide to study under the Imam. And we'll hear about his story as the story of Imam Ahmed unfolds. So Imam Ahmed reaches the age of 40. Something's happening. Now I need your attention to this. Something's happening in the Muslim empire. And Imam Ahmed will soon have to shoulder a responsibility the likes of which no one has faced. At least in his time. Something is happening in the Muslim empire. And that is that Greek and Persian culture and their books and philosophy have come into Muslim lands. So scholars who studied this, slowly they started developing ideas that were weird. And one of the weird ideas that they developed, and it's kind of confusing, but I'm going to make it simple for our youth. One of the ideas that they began to develop is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we all know the Quran is a speech of Allah. Allah spoke it. These scholars who studied philosophy, and they weren't really necessarily religious scholars, they barely had any knowledge of that. But they're masters in Greek philosophy, they're masters in Persian philosophy, and Indian philosophy. They began to develop an idea that Quran itself is created. It's not a speech of Allah. Quran is a creation of Allah. And what did I tell you at the beginning of my lecture? Everything creation is what? On a curve. So if you say Quran is created, guess what? It has a beginning, it has an end, it has room for improvement, and everything that is created will eventually die and become obsolete. So if you say Quran is created, Quran has to be treated the same way. While every scholar from Ahl Sunnah, the companions, our opinion has always been Quran is the speech of Allah. It's not something Allah created. It's a speech. That's part of His attributes. So that whole concept became deviated And this idea began to spread and began to gain traction until a disaster happened. The Khalifa of the time, Ma'mun, he surrounded himself with these people, these philosophers, and they corrupted his mind. And Ma'mun, being the Khalifa, he's not satisfied with him believing the Quran is created. He's not satisfied with that. He said, I have to spread this idea, and I want to make sure every scholar in the land better profess to that. Every scholar in the land. So how did he start? Now listen to this. Before Ma'mun started to make this official state religion, that you got to tell Allah cannot speak, Quran is created. Before he tried to make it official, Yazid ibn Harun, the teacher of Imam Ahmed, was alive. And Ma'mun was so scared of him that Imam Yazid had a big following. And he knew that if he started implementing this idea, he's going to create a division in the Muslim community. Anyways, Yazid dies off. Ma'mun begins to spread his ideas. He calls 7 scholars, which were 7 secondary level scholars. They weren't huge scholars. And told them, I, your Khalifa, your Ameer, your leader tells you the Quran is created. What do you say? They said, well, you're the Ameer, so whatever. Yeah, Quran is created. So he became very confident with that. And slowly he began to spread this deviated idea. The Quran is a creation, it's not a speech of Allah. And the idea began to spread. People are super confused. Super confused. Because wallahi, if you reduce Quran to a creation, then you know what happens? I'll tell you what happens. When I was in high school, outside of our high school, they would give us small Bibles. You know, when you're riding your yellow school bus, why don't you read Bible? You know, if you reduce Quran to a creation, this is what happens. So we would be given these small Bibles, pocket Bibles. And you know what people would do with these Bibles? These Christian kids, they would take these Bibles, and wallahi, it's my eyewitness, they would throw it at each other. Almost like they're playing Bible fight. They're throwing Bibles at each other, and I would feel bad. I would pick up 1 or 2 and put it. I'm like, the name of God is in there at least. We should be respectful of other people's literature and religion. But they're throwing it at each other because Bible is of no value to them. Creation. So this deviated idea could not have been spread. So these scholars are being now forced publicly to swear and say that Quran is created. And scholars, you see in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. That if you're being forced into something and you fear for your life, then say what the person wants you to say as long as your iman is straight. As long as what you know, as long as you believe in the right thing. Sometimes you want to escape trouble, say what they want to hear and escape trouble. So many scholars start to do that. They're like, you know what, I don't want to get persecuted and tortured and jailed by this Khalifa. Let me just say what he wants to say so I can escape trouble. So many scholars that way saved themselves and saved their lives. And Imam Ahmed and the group of his followers became few and few. Until 26 scholars left who are still on the truth. And Ma'mun said, send them to me, wallahi I will put them to sword. Meaning I will kill them. When the scholars heard this threat, that 26 group became a group of 9. And that became a group of 4. And that became a group of 2. And only 2 are now going to face the Khalifa Ma'mun. And they are about to face a death sentence. So as Imam Ahmed is being dragged to the castle of Ma'mun, the Khalifa, he is being told by many scholars, Imam Ahmed, say what they want you to say. Say what the Khalifa wants you to say. Allah allows for that. Don't put yourself in all this trouble. You know what's happening here? Dunya is coming now. You guys understand what I'm saying? Now he has a chance to take dunya and take his comfort and take his rest. And he could tell himself, I could just say what the Imam, the Khalifa wants me to say. I can go to my masjid and benefit a lot of people. I could do a lot of good if I can escape in trouble, if I'm not in jail. He could make all these excuses. Dunya is right there. Imam Ahmed kicks it away and he says, you know what? Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I'm going to face the Khalifa. And then they started telling him the Khalifa is waiting with his sword and he will kill you. So Imam Ahmed, as he's being taken, and Ma'mun is waiting to punish him, Imam Ahmed made a dua. This is just the beginning. Imam Ahmed made a dua because he heard about how insulting and disgusting and an oppressor that Ma'mun is. He made a dua, Ya Allah, if you know the Quran is your speech and we are upon the truth, then protect us from Ma'mun. And the people said, and he made this dua outside of the castle of Ma'mun. People said no sooner had Imam lowered his hands from making the dua, a huge cry broke out. And people started to say that the Khalifa just passed away. Power of the dua of Imam Ahmed. So when the Khalifa died, they turned Imam Ahmed back and they said, let's put him in prison. Let's put a new Khalifa in place and then we'll deal with the situation of Imam Ahmed. And this new Khalifa is worse than Ma'mun. Because this new Khalifa is a soldier. Very rough, very tough. Soon as he assumes power, he puts the affairs in his place, and then his father left him a will that you have to stay on my belief, and that is the Quran is created. So he started persecuting scholars. And he says, bring Imam Ahmed to me. There Imam once again dragged from his prison. Dragged from his prison. And he's being taken to where? To the castle of Mu'tasim. This is a new Khalifa now, Mu'tasim. While he's being taken there and he's traveling there, a man by the name of Rabi'a pierces through the crowd and he says to Imam, Ya Imam, let me tell you something, fear Allah. Because if you say what the Khalifa wants you to say, you will misguide millions of people because they love you and they have a high place in their heart for you. And he said, if they persecute you and punish you, know that nothing stands between your way and Jannah except death. So if you die, you go straight up in Jannah. And if you live, you will live a life of a hero. You have nothing to lose. Do not give in to the truth. So Imam Ahmad later used to say, that strengthened me so much that he said, I'm not gonna give in. So he enters the palace of Mu'tasim and a debate begins. And the people, Mu'tasim and his judges and his scholars, quote unquote scholars, they begin throwing out ideas. I'll give you an example for students of knowledge. One of the evidences they throw is like, didn't Allah say, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ? Allah created everything. That means Quran must be created. So he says, Imam Ahmad responds in a beautiful way. Here they're saying, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Shay means thing. Allah created everything. And what they're trying to say, if Allah created everything that you can imagine, which includes Quran, that means Quran must be created, right? Imam Ahmad, see, he hasn't heard of these arguments, but look at the intelligence of this man. He says, doesn't Allah say, تُدَمِّرُ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ بِأَمْرِ رَبِّهَا فَأَصْبَحُوا لَا يُرَى إِلَّا مَسَاكِنُهُمْ? That when punishment came to the people of Ad, it destroyed everything. And then he completes the ayah by saying that when the warning came about, their houses were empty. So if kulla meant to destroy everything, then how come the houses were there still? That means kulla doesn't mean everything in existence. Kulla means everything that could be created was created by Allah, and Quran is not one of them. And one by one, he would debate with them and he would shut them down. Debate with them, shut them down. Until Mu'tasim was like, respond to this man. And they couldn't respond to him. And so the debate was over at that moment in time, and they sent him back. 3 days passed, and he would be brought back, and he would have this debate, and he would convince them, and they couldn't answer back. Imam Ahmad said, 3 days have passed, and he's like, I had this weird feeling in my heart that something ominous is about to happen. He's like, they cannot continue to just debate with me like this. So he said, when the 4th day, if I'm not mistaken, they bring him out. This time an army is in place with swords and weapons. You know why? Because Imam Ahmad now understands that he will now be punished and tortured in public. And to control the crowds who love him, they have an army in place to make sure that they are maintaining order. Imam Ahmad knows almost for sure that he's going to be put to whip. You guys know what whipping is, right? Imam Ahmad said, Wallahi, if they were going to cut my head off, I wasn't afraid of that. If they were going to cut my head off, I wasn't afraid of that. But what I was afraid of was the whip. Because that whip hurts. So all these soldiers are around, and Imam Ahmad knows in his heart, today something is up. So they take him to the backyard of Mu'tasim. And Mu'tasim says, almost like a child style, are you Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal? He says, yes, my name is Imam Ahmad. Is it true you believe this and this and this and this? Trying to create a case against him. And Imam Ahmad answered him, and answered him, and answered him. And let me tell you something else. When Imam had done answering him, the Khalifa is like today, and while the Khalifa is having this debate, there are people like in the shouting, his judges, they're like, kill him, he's a kafir, he's this, he's that. Kill him, his blood is on our neck. Kill him. So Mu'tasim, after hearing all of this, he's like, you know what, that's it. Let's get rid of this guy. He made a legal decision. He gave a verdict that we are going to kill Imam Ahmed, but he said, I swear to Allah that I'm not going to kill him by the sword. I'm going to whip him alive. Slow, painful death. So Imam Ahmed is brought outside. And listen to how Allah strengthens Imam Ahmed. Imam Ahmed says, as I am waiting to be whipped, someone pierces through the crowd, bursts through the crowd, and he comes rushing to me and standing in my face. And he says, oh Imam Ahmed, do you know who I am? Imam's like, no, I don't know who you are. He says, my name is Abu Haytham. He's like, do you know who I am? He's like, I'm the most famous thief of Baghdad. He said, if you go to the police register now, there are about 1,000 lashes and whips written in my account, that if the police catches me, they're going to whip me 1,000 times. And he says, on top of that, I've already been whipped in my life for thousands of times. He says, but I'm still a thief and I continue to steal. He says, Ya Imam, people look up to you. They look up to you for truth and guidance. Ya Imam, if the whips and thousands of whips have not kept me away from stealing, and have not kept me from stealing and falsehood, if the fear of these whips have not kept me from falsehood, don't you let the fear of whips keep you away from the truth. Don't you give up truth today for the fear of the whips. Imam Ahmed said, when I heard this, he said, Wallahi, I said that if they skin me alive today, I will not give up the truth. And so Mu'tasim, and listen how he humiliates this great Imam, but this Imam is patient. They brought 2 poles, which they put in the ground. And Imam Ahmed had one hand tied up here, one hand there, and they began to stretch. Until his shoulders were dislocated. That's the first pain. And then Mu'tasim says that who amongst the crowd, he has an army, almost like an army, a line of floggers, whippers, waiting to punish him. He said, come up, line behind one at a time, and then he's like, let me see your whips. And he looks at their whips, they're like, weak. He's like, bring better whips. And the whips of the strongest quality were brought. And he said, every flogger will only flog twice, and then you're going to rotate. Why is that? So the next person, he's fresh, and he can inflict the most amount of pain. First person comes, takes this stripe, and Imam Ahmed, this great Imam, faqih of this ummah, Imam Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, tied up like this, his wrists are bleeding, shoulders dislocated, and he's still praising Allah because he understood something. Scholars are coming to him. They're like, Ya Imam, save yourself from this trouble. Save yourself from this pain. Allah has allowed you to do that. And you know what he responds to them? He says, oh my dear scholars, if I am to take the easy way out now, then what about the hadith of Khabbab ibn Arad? When Khabbab ibn Arad came to the Prophet and he said, oh Prophet of Allah, why don't you ask Allah to make things easy for us? And the Prophet ﷺ said, oh Khabbab, there were people before you who were put into a ditch and a saw was placed on their heads and they were cut in half and they did not give up their religion. What about this hadith? If I am to take the easy way out now, then what about these people? You see, once a student visited him, Marudi, if I'm not mistaken his name. He came to the prison and he said, Ya Imam, take the easy way out. Dunya is glittering before his eyes. He can give up prison now and live a life of luxury. And you know what? Khalifa would even pay for him. So the student comes to him, he's like, Imam, save yourself from this trouble. People need you. Imam said, go outside the prison and tell me what do you see. Marudi steps outside the prison and you know what he sees? An ocean of students of knowledge, ready with pen and paper, ready to record the opinion of Imam Ahmed. If Imam Ahmed says Quran is created, everybody will follow. So the Marudi comes back in and he says, I see oceans of people waiting to write down what you have to say. He's like, and then how can I afford to misguide the masses? He's like, I would rather suffer the pain. So they have him hung, ready to strike him. First flogger comes and strikes him so hard that it rips through his clothes, rips through his skin, and blood starts. And then the next one comes, and they flog him, and they torture him, and they whip him, until Mu'tasim gets fed up. And this man he has a heart of an animal. He talks to these floggers. He says, which of you can kill the person the fastest with their whips? So the floggers knew who was the best amongst them. So this giant guy steps up and he says, I can kill a man with 10 whips. And that's not easy, because back in the day they would be lashed 80 times, sometimes for punishment. He's like, I can kill a man with 10 whips. He's like, step up. Step up and punish the Imam. And he starts whipping the Imam, and the blood starts to gush out, and he beats him, and he beats him, and he beats him. To a point that Imam goes unconscious and people think that he has died. And the news starts to spread outside. See, this is happening in the palace, inside the walls of Mu'tasim. There's a crowd outside. They have no idea what's happening. They know Imam is going to be punished. But they hear rumors that Imam has died, and people have brought their swords. Commotion is about to start. So Mu'tasim finds out. He's like, okay, put clothes on the Imam, cover him up, and show the people he's not dead yet. He's just gone unconscious. So they put water on his face or whatever, bring him back to consciousness. And there, oceans of people waiting. And Imam in this fatigued, tired stage. Wallahi, look at the sincerity to the truth. Today, you see, he's being whipped. And he's being pressured, tortured, and he has not given up his religion. And here we have our youth. A little group of youth, a good youth, who are praying, but there's a group of youth over there, and they look all cool, and they're talking all cool, they'll give up everything and join them. We have our youth in high school and middle school. We'll give up religion, everything, just to what? Please these non-Muslims. Please their friends. Please their peers. And their Imam would not cave in to the pressure of the entire empire upon his shoulder. So they clothe him up, and they take him outside. And there outside, the people finally see Imam is alive. But he's in a worn out condition. So they asked the Imam, what do you say? Because whatever you say will follow. Now Imam, with all the pain that he has suffered, if there was ever a time to give in and save yourself, now would be the time. But Imam Ahmed, in this messed up condition, is standing in front of people. He says, "O people, and what else can I say but the Quran is the speech of Allah, uncreated. And their speech has come from Him and it will return to Him." So people brought out their pens, wrote it down, and they all dissipated. Khalifa finds out that the damage is done. People have recorded his opinion, and they know it's the truth, and they've left. So he brings the Imam back. They whip him more and more until he goes unconscious, and then take him back to the prison. People are so upset. There's almost a civil war is about to break out into the empire. So people convince the Khalifa, you know what, let's just put him into house arrest. Let's keep him away from people. Let's not torture him anymore, because people are going to revolt. We're going to have a revolution. They love this man so much. So they put him in a house arrest. And they have it's kind of like, you know how FBI watches your house? They would watch him 24/7. He's not allowed to teach, not allowed to have guests, not allowed to even leave the house. Only thing he has been given is books. And he's banned from teaching people. So he's in a house arrest, which is a better condition than what he has been in. And time comes that Mu'tasim dies. But while Mu'tasim is alive, he's still under a house arrest. And people would secretly come to him to seek knowledge. And the man from Andalusia that I was telling you about, he comes seeking knowledge at this period of time. And Imam is under a house arrest. And he comes and he says, "Ya Imam, give me some hadith, teach me something." Imam said, "I'm not allowed to." He says, "Ya Imam, now look at this man and his sacrifice for knowledge." And wallahi, we youths today, we hate school. But these scholars, look at the things they would do to seek knowledge. This man from Andalusia, he has already traveled so far on foot. He says, "I'm going to come to your house as a beggar, and you take me inside to feed me some food in an act and give me some hadith that way." And he continued to learn with the Imam. And he continued to learn with the Imam that way, slowly learning hadith. And later, when the house arrest was taken away, and Imam Ahmed became a hero, living a live hero amongst the people. So this poor man from Andalusia, he was living in a hotel. And he was really, really sick, so he couldn't come to the masjid of Imam Ahmed to join in the circle of knowledge. Imam Ahmed said, "Where is this, our brother from Andalusia?" They said, "He has fallen sick." He said, "Where is he?" "He's in this hotel." So Imam takes his student, and they start walking towards the hotel. Owner of the hotel finds out that Imam Ahmed is on the way, and he is frantic. He's like, "Imam of the Muslim is coming to my house. I'm coming to my hotel to visit me. Who does he want to see?" And they tell him, this poor man. He's like, "Him? This homeless guy here? Who's sleeping on the lobby?" And they're like, "Yeah." So Imam comes, visits, and makes dua for this man. And the owner of the hotel loves the Imam, and look at the respect Allah has given the Imams. The hotel owner says, Wallahi, after today to this homeless person, you will not have to pay a penny, your food is free and your residence is free. You are the guest, you are the student of Imam. This was the respect Allah had given Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. I'll tell you another story, inshallah. I want to soon wrap up. That there was a baker. This is kind of a tangent in his life. But just to tell you the respect Allah had given Imam for the sacrifices he had made. And by the way, later on a Khalifa came. After Mu'tasim came Waqi. And after that a Khalifa Mutawakkil came, who was a very friendly Khalifa. A very friendly leader to Imam Ahmed. And he loved Imam Ahmed, tried to apologize, tried to make up for all the past torture and punishment. In fact, by the way, you know those floggers who flogged him? They all came back to his house with their heads bowed down in shame. And they're like, Ya Imam, please forgive us. And as soon as they entered the house, Imam is already smiling and he said, Wallahi, I forgave you the day I stepped into the palace. This is the forgiveness of Imam. And today, subhanAllah, we hold on to grudges for ages and eons. Oh, he didn't invite me to the party, I'm not inviting him to my house. There's this almost a competition. If he invites me to my da'wat, I'll invite him to my da'wat. And if somebody doesn't invite you, they will be discussing it for 3-4 years. You know, can you believe he invited the whole community and not me? Wallahi, see, when love of dunya is that much, every little thing about dunya matters to you. Imam Ahmed didn't care about this world. So it didn't bug him that much. And he was able to easily forgive. So there was a baker. Imam Ahmed was once traveling. And what happened is that night came and he had to rest somewhere. So he found this masjid. So he wanted to use this masjid as a place where he can stay overnight. But he didn't want to tell people that he's Imam Ahmed, because if he tells people, what's going to happen? The whole village will gather to meet him because of his respect. So he didn't tell people. So the caretaker of the masjid, he's like, sorry, no sleepovers in the masjid, you got to get out. So he literally almost dragged the Imam out of the masjid, not knowing who this man is. The Imam of Ahl Sunnah. But Imam did not reveal. So he got kicked out of this masjid. And it is said that this happened twice. So he went to another masjid that very night and he was dragged out of there. Dragged out of all masajid until the third masjid where he was dragged out of. There was a baker with a bakery who used to bake bread for people. He noticed and he felt really pity for Imam Ahmed. The baker doesn't know and the caretaker of the masjid doesn't know. But he felt pity for him as a human being, as a Muslim. He's like, why don't you come into my shop? You can rest the night here. So Imam Ahmed goes into his store and he notices that the baker is constantly saying, Astaghfirullah, 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 asking Allah for the forgiveness of his sins. So Imam Ahmed said, Wallahi, I noticed that you constantly say istighfar. You're constantly feeling guilty of your sins and asking Allah to forgive you. So the baker says, Wallahi, I have done this for years and Allah has accepted every single one of my du'as. All my du'as are accepted because I keep my account clean with my Lord. He's like, all du'as are accepted except one du'a. And that is that I made a du'a to Allah that, Ya Allah, I want to meet before I die the famous Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. And the baker said, and Imam Ahmed, with tears in his eyes, he says, and not only Allah has accepted your dua, but he dragged Imam Ahmed out of the masjid so he can meet you. Subhanallah. This is Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Wallahi, a giant upon which this ummah stands. You see, had Imam Ahmed not made the sacrifice he had made, today we would be treating Quran like those Christian kids in the school bus were throwing their Bibles. But because of the sacrifices that these great men have made, Allah honored them in this life and the next. You see, their hearts were in the next life, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a high status. You know, فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. I want to end with the death of Imam Ahmed. And Imam Ahmed, he died at the age of 86 or 84. And when he fell ill, people started crowding his house in multitudes to a point that the governor had to send in soldiers to maintain control of the crowd. He fell ill. Scholars are coming to visit him. People of knowledge are coming. Laymen are coming. Such in his halaqah used to be 5,000 people. Thousands of people in his halaqah writing hadith from him. So Imam Ahmed falls ill. He's giving advice till his dying breath. And when the Imam dies, it is said in the recorded history of Muslim funerals that the greatest funeral ever witnessed by the ummah was the funeral of Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Recorded 1 million people in that age and time attended his funeral, which is the number close to the amount of hadith he had memorized. Subhanallah. He had memorized, he wrote Musnad Imam Ahmed, has about 40,000 ahadith, 15 to 40,000 ahadith. I'm not sure about the range exactly, but thousands of ahadith. And he had narrated so many ahadith, so many statements of the companion. Allah has it that when he dies, the number of ahadith he knew are the number of people who attended his funeral. So this is our man, Imam Ahmed. And wallah, if you learn anything from this talk today, I just want to tell you, my dear youth, and my dear uncles, and everybody else, and my dear sisters, that don't become sucked into the life of this world. And look up to men who are living in this life, but their hearts and their vision were in the akhirah. Because of this, they were able to accomplish feat. They were able to accomplish things that made them role models, legacies for generations and eons to come. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن المجيد ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.